Hello and welcome back to the Insurance Guru. My name is Ayanda Malele and thank you so much for tuning in once again as we talk about my favorite subject, insurance. A big misconception that people often make is when you say, do you have life policy? They say, oh no, I do have life policy because I have funeral cover with XYZ insurance. That's not life policy. It's a form, but it's not life policy. So this video is to debunk and separate the two between funeral policy and life policy so you know the difference and ensure that you've got adequate cover. I will start with funeral policies first. Now, funeral policies are, as they state, they cover for the funeral expenses of the deceased. So if you want to ensure that your loved ones, your wife, your children don't have to worry about the expenses of your funeral, then you would take up a funeral policy. The cover for a funeral policy is often set or capped at a certain amount. In South Africa, that's capped at 100,000 rands per policy. One thing that you should also know, which is beneficial, but don't look at this as also trying to get life cover in the form of funeral policies, but you can also get various different funeral policies. So I can choose to get a policy with insurer X or Y and Z because maybe I know in my culture there needs to be a bull and a buffalo that gets slaughtered for me because I'm so important, and that needs to be able to cover those expenses. So you can have more than one policy because it's a set amount that will be paid out in the event of your death. The nature of a funeral policy is that it's not a life policy. You cannot cover your life based on funeral costs. Funeral policies are for funeral expenses and things that we spoke about before. The casket that needs to be bought, if there needs to be groceries that need to be bought, and expenses paid to the funeral parlor, etc., etc. So that is ideally what your funeral policy will cover. Another big differentiator with a funeral policy is that payouts are usually very quick. It's usually within 24 hours, 48 hours, depending on the insurer. So it's really just to make sure that things run smoothly for the funeral, and that's it. That's your funeral cover and it's done. Yes, there are some insurers that say they'll give you 2,000 rands worth of groceries for the next 2 years or whatever it is, but that's not to say, oh no, I've covered my family for groceries for 2,000 rands for the next 2 years. That's life cover. It's not life cover, which then brings us to what is life cover or what is life insurance. Life cover, in essence, is to ensure that should you as the deceased pass on and leave your family, that there isn't a heavy financial burden that stays with your family. So for instance, if you are the sole provider of your family, maybe you're the father or the mother, and you pass away, there is going to be that loss of income that was going to come if you were there. And thus, the people that you leave behind, which are called your beneficiaries, will then receive a certain amount in order to sort of cover those expenses as much as we can gauge what those expenses are. Now, some life covers will pay out a lump sum. Others may be said that they pay a certain amount every end of each month. So looking at life policies really covers you for your life. So if I should pass away, God forbid, and leave my children, there needs to be some protection that I have for my children, that there is less of a financial stress or burden on them should I depart. Life cover is just to ensure that your beneficiaries, the people that you leave behind, have got some means to continue going to school, paying for their school fees, paying for their extramural activities, paying, for their university fees should it come, etc., etc. Those are what life cover. So you'll even get, credit life, where when you pass away, the credit that you had with a bank or financial institution, that will be covered so that it doesn't affect the people you leave behind, your family, your loved ones, called beneficiaries. And with life cover, it's quite different. The amount that you can cover your life is really quite large. I mean, people can cover their lives up to millions and millions of rands, depending obviously on affordability, also on what your current earnings are, etc. And based on the phone call or the consultation you have with your life insurance company. So that's the benefit of life cover, is that it really protects your family for financial burdens when you are not there. And as I stated before, it can cover you for a lump sum once off, or you can structure it to say monthly it should provide so much for your family in order to live. And I think if you've watched certain TV programs like I Blew It, sometimes it's better to portion it, that it's a monthly stipend or a monthly allowance that gets sent for your family to be able to live as if you were still around. And not only does it extend, to credit life, but it can also go to critical illness or disability as well. Life cover really is looking at your life and ensuring that your life continues as if you were still a functioning person who was earning an income and doing reasonably okay. So as you can see with the explanation that I've given, that it's a comprehensive life tool. This is not just a portion of your life, but it's everything that could potentially happen to your life and the protection of your loved ones and your beneficiaries, and in terms of critical illness and disability, yourself as well, because if you are not able to work anymore, or you have to take some time off, that will hit on your pocket and therefore you'll have some cover. So it's quite important, and as you can see, it's not the same as a funeral cover. Because of the nature of life insurance and just how much it covers, there may be a need to do some medical checks as well. And as we discussed with the funeral policy, with the life policy, when it comes to the payout, it's not as quick as a life policy. There's a lot of things that have to go behind the scenes. And this is where people always say, oh no, they don't want to pay. No, people, they have covered a whole entire life for large amounts of money. They need to ensure that whatever happened to the deceased is something that was covered under the policy and there was no malpractice, etc., etc., etc. So I will get a life specialist as well to just chat to us a bit more about the underwriting process, what they look for when they're covering your life to determine the premium, because there's a lot more at stake. A younger person will get a cheaper life insurance policy as opposed to an older person because of lifespan, and maybe a person that's more active might get a cheaper policy as opposed to a person that's not as active. So there's a lot that goes on into life insurance policies, but this video was just to put the two together to say funeral policy, definitely not a life policy. Life policy, also definitely a need, because especially if there's people that you look after and support, it is vital. So I hope you did like this video and you enjoyed it. And if you have any further questions about funeral policies or life policies, please don't forget to comment down below and leave me those questions. Also, if you like it and you like the channel and you like me and you like the voice, maybe just click subscribe there and hit the bell button so that every time I post a new video, you are alerted. But I do hope I'll see you in the next video as well. We'll tackle more of these subjects as well, because I realize I focused a lot on just short-term insurance, but it's time to look at insurance as a whole. So yes, please stay tuned for more videos. Bye.